Okay, let's move on and talk about one other event which took place recently, which also has a prophetic significance in Syria. You may know that there is a prophecy in the book of Isaiah which says the burden against Damascus will cease to be a city, it will become a ruinous heap. Damascus, the capital of Israel, capital of Syria. Been in the news recently what has taken place in Syria. On July the 17th, the IDF undertook 160 aerial attacks on Syrian forces in and around the vicinity of a place called Suwaida in southern Syria, where Muslim militias have slaughtered Syrian Druze. The Druze are a minority sect, an offshoot of Islam, now living in the Golan Heights in Israel and in Syria. Generally, they are friendly to Israel and protected by Israel in the Golan Heights. In fact, many of these people actually serve in the IDF. But in Syria, they've been attacked by Bedouin forces who are Islamists, who see them as traitors to Islam and friends of Israel. And what you need to know is that radical Islamists in Syria today are carrying out a program of slaughtering minorities, including the Alawites, including the Christians. And I watched a film which showed the things which had taken place in southern Syria, and it was absolutely atrocious. I did think about showing it, but it was so brutal and so horrifying that I decided not to. Beheadings, children taken away from their, babies taken away from their parents, parents slaughtered, whole Christian family taken away and slaughtered. Most atrocious and violent and wicked things taking place there. And as they're doing these atrocious things, they're shouting, Allahu Akbar. Allah is great. And it's just absolutely horrendous what's taking place there. I think that some 300 people have been killed. Houses have been destroyed, burning and looting of civilian houses. And Israel intervened in support of the Druze. It launched dozens of airstrikes on convoys of government forces in southern Syria and on government facilities in Damascus. In fact, the film I said, it showed a Christian family in Syria who were actually in the process of being killed by the Islamists. And the mother and father with two children. The mother got down on her knees and started praying out loud. The father said, don't pray, it's going to make things even worse. She carried on praying. And as she was praying, a missile came over from Israel and landed just near them, and the jihadis fled. And they were saved and they were set free. So it was amazing. So Israel actually did save this Christian family. But it just reminded you also what these forces are about. And Israel also attacked certain government facilities in Damascus. Then the Syrian army did go in to stop the fighting. And there's a question mark whether these people were actually sent by the government or not. But Syria is totally lawless, one has to say, and there are all these jihadis going around with guns, and basically no one's really in control. And Israel is concerned also not just to save the Druze, but also because they don't want Islamic militants setting up base in the south of Syria near the Golan Heights where Israel has the border. And since the fall of Assad, Israeli forces have taken control of one of the buffer zones in Syria near the border with Israeli annexed Golan and have carried out hundreds of airstrikes from that area. So Israel is basically involved in what's taking place in southern Syria. Now, as they do this, they're coming into conflict with, obviously, the government of Syria, but also Turkey, which helped to get this government into power. And Turkey is more and more involved in Syria. And according to some people, actually, the leading of the war of Gog and Magog is not going to be from Russia, it's going to be from Turkey. Now, I'm hold loose on that one, but it is possible. And you see now Turkey having an influence in Syria, Israel coming against Syria, and also threatening Damascus. Now, Damascus is quite near to the border. I once went to the Golan Heights with Barbara, and we stood on the Golan Heights, and we looked over to Syria, and there's a signpost which says Damshek, Damascus, 40 kilometers. So just 40 kilometers from the top of the Golan Heights in Israel control, you get to Damascus. So it's not very far away. So if Israel does go into southern Syria, they're already on the road to Damascus. And should anything happen in that area, it could spark a conflict between Israel and Syria, but it could also spark the fulfillment of this prophecy in Isaiah. That says Damascus will no longer be a city, but will become a heap of ruins. Now, Damascus, interestingly, is the oldest continuously inhabited city in the world, mentioned in the Bible at the time of Abraham. And it's estimated that Damascus, there'd been a city called Damascus there for at least 4,000 to 5,000 years. Survived conquest, empire, and war. Even today, despite years of civil war and devastation, Damascus remains a functioning city. Yet Isaiah prophesied its utter and total destruction, a complete ceasing of habitation. It isn't just a city invaded or damaged, it's a city that ceases to exist, a ruinous heap that will disappear from the face of the earth. So you have to ask yourself, what could cause such a ruinous devastation? Could it be some kind of weapon of mass destruction? We don't know. Could it be some earthquake or some violence? We don't know. But it says here, after 2,600 years after Isaiah gave this prophecy, something going to happen which will cause Damascus to cease to be a city. Some think it could be a missile strike that goes wrong, chemical weapons depot that is accidentally or intentionally indicted. But you're watching one of the oldest cities in the world, again, in the frame for fulfillment of a possible prophecy in the Bible. And all these prophecies in the Bible are signposts to the end of days. And as you see these things taking place, they're a wake-up call that we're living, not just in ordinary days, but in days which are leading us to the second coming of Jesus the Messiah. If Damascus does go up in smoke, it could actually be the thing which provokes then the war of Gog and Magog of Ezekiel 38 and 39, and could bring about, push towards the end of days conflict. Now, I don't think we're there yet, and I think that these things are still in the pipeline, if you like. But you can see that there is a situation taking place in that part of the world which is leading us towards the second coming of Yeshua, Jesus the Messiah.